I'm Gold Derby editor Daniel Montgomery here with Anna Diop, who stars in Nanny as a Senegalese immigrant hired by a white family as a nanny. And she experiences these disturbing visions while she's working for them. What drew you to this script and this character?
Um, well, the character had so many parallels to my own mother's story. My mother left Senegal for the States when I was 6 years old, and she leaves for the same reason Aisha does. She left so she could hopefully build a better life for me. And so the story was so personal to me because, again, it was my mother's story in many ways. Um, and I've always had an affinity and a closeness and an understanding of the immigrant experience, specifically with mothers who are making that very difficult decision. So it was just a script and a story that, one, felt deeply personal, and two, was executed so well. Nikiatu has a very gifted way at storytelling. And so when you're reading the script, you don't want to put it down, and it's tense and it's magical and it really captures you. And so between the brilliance of the script and my personal connection to the character, it was a dream for me.
And to play a character so connected to your mother, what kind of emotion did it bring out? Sort of being able to sort of walk in her shoes, in this fictional way.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it forced me to reflect on that time when she first moved. And I was 6 years old, and she didn't speak the language. She didn't know anyone. And she was navigating an entirely foreign place. And on top of that, shortly after, she lost her own mother, but wasn't able to go back home. And so I was reflecting on that time, and to be honest, it made me very sad, because it was a really difficult time for her. And I was able to use that, my imagining of what she felt like in Aisha, because Aisha herself is experiencing grief and longing and loneliness and depression and all of that. But yeah, it brought back some pretty sad memories. But what the script and what the film also does really beautifully is explores Aisha's joy too, and we see her fall in love. And so it's very hopeful in that way as well.
There are also these supernatural elements in the story that sort of run parallel to the fear that she's experiencing just day to day being an immigrant and trying to navigate the world. What did you think about that supernatural element and the folklore that the film brings in?
Um, yeah, I mean, this really is a question for Nikiatu, our writer director, but what I loved about those elements is what it does for Aisha as a character. So these elements, Anansi the spider and Mami Wata, they're elements in African folklore. They're symbols of resistance and of rebellion, and they're chaos agents. And when Aisha starts to become, when they start invading her reality, when she starts becoming imbued by them, we see her behaving differently. She becomes less apologetic. She becomes more stern. She becomes bolder. We see her stand up for herself, in the case of Adam and Amy. And so as an actor, it was really fun to be able to play that kind of arc in a character. And as a story, it's really interesting that it's being kind of propelled by these symbols of African folklore.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite elements of this character is how she grows and eventually stands up for herself, even though she is in a vulnerable position.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
and what were those scenes like to play where she's demanding what she's owed. She knows what she's worth in important ways.
It taught me a lot, right? I personally, in my own personality, I sometimes get quite shy about sticking up for myself and defending myself in that way. And so I think every role we do, it's really cliche and actor thing, but it really does teach you a bit about yourself when you're forced to kind of play a certain scene or play a certain action. You have to find it first within yourself. And so, yeah, it was quite, I guess, in a way, a growing experience to play Aisha. Because despite her very vulnerable and precarious situation, she's undocumented, she needs this money, she still remains with her integrity and her dignity and stands in her power. So yeah, so it was a really exciting thing to be able to portray that.
And the fear elements. How do you prepare for getting into those moments where she is at her most like emotionally distressed and in the stranger's apartment where she's feeling the presence of those spirits.
You know, we shot all of the apartment stuff in the same week, which was really challenging because Aisha begins the story there, and in many ways, the apex and climax of her insanity also happens in that space. So that was the first week of filming, and we shot all that stuff then. So it was really challenging. I had to really kind of pull out every bit of focus and tool that I had in order to execute those scenes as best as I could. But yeah, those were definitely, the more maddening scenes where Aisha's reality is so invaded that she can't tell reality from not. Those in many ways were the most invigorating because they require you to be the most focused and the most sensitive and the most vulnerable in a lot of ways.
And water is a recurring motif in the film, and so there are a lot of scenes of Aisha in water, in dreams, the water raining down in her bed, and what were those scenes like to film? Was that difficult, or what was that like?
Yes, difficult for me personally because I don't like cold water. And everyone tells me you should take like cold showers, it's really healthy for you, but I just cannot. Like I don't like cold water. I hate being cold. So for me, just getting over having either being submerged in freezing cold water, having cold water dropped on me, or being submersed in it, um, uh, it was challenging for me in that sense. But yeah, but otherwise I just navigated the way I do any scene, really.
And were all those scenes, done close together? Was that something that kind of got all that out of the way?
Yeah, well, again, all the apartment scenes were done in the same week. But the pool scenes, of course, were shot, not the pool scenes, the water scenes were shot at this YMCA in New York. And that was later towards filming. But no, the water stuff was pretty much throughout because it's a huge theme in it. And so it was scattered throughout the entire schedule.
And what was the collaboration like with the writer director Nikiatu Jusu? How did you create this role together?
It it is the kind of collaboration for me personally as an actor that I've always hoped to find. And I'm immensely grateful that I found it in Nikiatu. We didn't know this before I got the role, but we have so many similarities in our own lives. Her mother was born and raised and lived in Sierra Leone and immigrated to Atlanta. My mother from Senegal immigrated to Houston. We're both very close to our mothers. We're both, of course, artists. We just have so many similarities, and I didn't know if I'd come across a filmmaker as talented, gifted, brilliant as her that was so similar to me in these ways. And we just got along pretty organically, quite quickly. I think we have an understanding of each other. I certainly have an incredible reverence for her. And that was before even meeting her, because I saw her short and I read her script and I was astounded by her talent. But then to meet her and for us to get along so well has been a dream come true.
And after playing this character, what was it like getting to see the film? When did you see it for the first time in its completed form, and what was that like?
I didn't even like how I saw it the first time because it was before it went out on Sundance. And so they sent me this little link that I had to watch on my laptop. And the link wasn't the highest quality. So everything was it's kind of like when you get those little bootleg movies, it's just kind of off. And it was on my laptop. But even still, I was so moved and so proud of the movie. But when I saw it with an audience in a proper theater, I was literally blown away. I called Nikki Yatsu immediately, because you can really appreciate the sound and the visuals um, and the moments of intensity. Those kind of scarier moments are very astounding when you're experiencing it in that space. So I was very proud of the film.
And what was like when it won the grand jury prize at the Sundance Film Festival?
We're still breathless from it, to be honest. We're still wrapping our heads around that. Sundance went virtual this year, so we weren't able to be there in person. Um, and I think because of that, part of it almost doesn't feel quite like it. We know it happened, but there's a kind of like dreaminess about it because of that. We've been to many festivals since that we've been able to go to in person. And so it's inspiring to see how the film is resonating with people. It makes me feel more connected to people because it's a story that is so personal to me, and I knew that I loved immediately, and then I loved after seeing it. And so when people are responding in kind to something so personal to me and my own story, it makes me feel very connected to others.
And you yourself are nominated for a Gotham Award for your performance in the film. What was your reaction to getting that news? And is that something you'll be going to in person to celebrate that as well?
I'm gonna try to make it. I have a project that I'm doing, and it starts just around the time that the award ceremony is happening. Um, but that's been like, I don't even know what to say to that. That's really cool. It's really cool. I'm honored. I'm excited. Um, I'm excited. I'm really honored, and I really hope I can be there. I'm gonna try.
And the film is playing with such these ambiguities of what these spirits are in her life and how she experiences them. What do you hope the audience kind of takes away from her journey, and where she's come from, where she's going, and everything along the way?
Yeah. Well, for audiences that are familiar with this world and with this story, for immigrants, for mothers, I hope that they see themselves reflected on the screen. I hope that they see themselves in Aisha. I hope that they feel seen. Um, and for audiences that aren't used to paying attention to these individuals like Aisha, I hope it inspires a greater empathy within them. These are individuals that are uplifting our lives in many ways. We're able to go and work the jobs that we want to work and visit the places we want to visit because we have these people working at these, for such little pay. And so these individuals really uphold our economic system in a lot of ways. And again, these immigrants are very courageous and determined human beings. And so I hope it blows up empathy in people.
Well, I want to congratulate you on your work in the film, on your nomination for the film, and
Thank
all the
you.
success the film has had, and knock on wood, will continue to have as people get to see it. It's been a pleasure
Yes.
talking with you about it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.